just some more whiskey. I can't seem to understand how you do this to me. You've been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead. Saw you in the red dress. I can't seem to understand how you got all that finesse. Still been running in circles inside my head. Wasn't looking for love, but baby, I found you instead.
Hello and welcome back to the Esports Weekly Workshop. This is week 7 and I am ArdysOp. I will be one of your hosts today, and I'm here with Mark G, who is helping us to design our level here in Valorant.
Hello, welcome back. My name is Mark G. We are building out a map in Valorant here. We are on week 7, I believe, and we've made some great progress. The map is Ascent. We have built out all the way up to bomb site A, and now we're crisscrossing across the map, trying to join bomb site B to bomb site A. So that's where we're going to start off today and see how far we can get, as well as take a look at some little additions. Keep talking about making our level a little more interesting, decorate it, keep ourselves entertained, and that's what's happened over the last, probably the last 3 episodes more than any.
Yeah, I'm excited to see when you're creating the links, from B to A. I know that we're going to be talking about a couple destructible environment pieces, and I'm excited to see how you actually create those in Unreal.
Yeah, little destructibles, little props, things like that could really keep a level designer engaged as we work our way through the development process. I did some work in between last week and this week. Mostly little decorative pieces to kind of feel like this is starting to sparkle a little bit more. Mostly changes in color. I did things like added lights to our, little zoom in there. Added lights to our posts. It's just the problem of too much gray on gray really does get drab. I'll hit play here and we'll walk around. So we've emulated, built out the start point for the attackers. I'm starting to see there's less gray on gray and just that flat planes meeting flat planes. We're letting Unreal do its lighting thing and just light the different shades, shadows. Oop, there's a gap there. Started adding colors to our barrels here that were also kind of drab blue. As I move about through here, another thing I added is I added our Radianite looking boxes versus plain blue boxes.
Love that.
So just these little touches, it really starts to sparkle. We added gelato last week. Very simple, but still does really perk up your experience and starting to feel like there's something more here. We've talked about our silly enemies. You just shoot once, they die. Even my little gun here is pretty temp and pretty stubbed in with just basic Unreal projectile physics. But that's kind of what we start with as a professional. Sometimes you don't have characters, you don't have the real physics, you don't have enemies, you don't have special abilities, which is what Valorant's all about. So you just got to play and add things as you go. And you try and, just like when you're a kid, just playing with your action figures, playing with your toys in your bedroom, just imagining what could be. That's what you want to do in here. You want to kind of keep an open mind and figure out what could happen. What could happen from, once we add new abilities? What if we had different types of guns? Just the general layout and flow of the level and how the different teams cross paths and get at each other. Other things I've added in here from last week. The tree was in last week, but I just added some simple foliage. This little shrubbery was in, and that's obviously what made up our foliage up here. So a lot of this is to show you how real simple, good decisions in shapes, colors, contrast can really make a very generic low poly blockout come to life. Other things I added, I changed these block colors so they're not all blue. You get just too much of the same color flat for great distances. Kind of wears on you. Kind of makes you feel like you're someplace that doesn't really have any resonance of a real setting, a real location. This area was finished last week as you came out from tree out around here. And then there's bookstore, which I cheated and finished as well. So we'll take a look at how I built this out and how easy versus difficult it was and some of the decisions that went into it. So here's our museum now. We have our little tower, the radionite symbol up there, I guess color. And luckily, I'm going to zoom out here. Luckily, as I built this out, this is all matched up. And I guess I shouldn't say luckily, because we took a ton of time. If anybody watched from episode 1 to 2, it was really slow getting from this start point here, building out some of these buildings, getting this little plaza area, and just getting past the fishing hut here. This took a long time to make sure we got the scale right, make sure we got the general look, and then started making decisions that, hey, these buildings are really gray on gray. Here's the old one, and here's the new one. So you can see how just by adding some color to the windows really makes it pop out and makes it feel like it's a little more alive, and there's more going on than just a bunch of gray boxes. Absolutely. This took at least 2 to 3 episodes, and as we moved around this corner, it felt like it sped up a little bit, headed towards Site A. But again, it took another episode or 2 to really add the props, gelato. Now we've got the radionite boxes lying about. This is what they used to look like. They were just bluish gray. And it was great for that first time we put it in, but the longer it went on, it was kind of like, oh, there's just bluish gray blobs everywhere. It's nice to feel like, you know, you have some sparkles, some form of a setting, and some excitement here. And the luck part I said that we really worked hard at was, as I came around this corner, none of this was here last week. This really did match up. So by us constantly checking and measuring, we've been using these boxes as a form of measurement, as well as just running and counting and using our character. This all matched up. I had no discrepancies yet. So everything has perfectly fit.
Yeah, I think that work that we put in early on to make sure that we stayed up with it, like that has absolutely paid off.
Yeah, I was very happy that as I was putting this together and I put this floor in and I measured the stairs and I was running around, it just seamlessly fit. Now, obviously, I had to measure and check everything, but even as we head, I'm a little worried that this distance here from, let's say, I don't know what this is in by bookstore, some sort of a machine or air conditioning unit. I'm hoping the distance from here to here is accurate. I know the height is from the stairs and the floor, but anytime I'm trying to match things up, you get a little trepidatious. You're like, oh, I hope this works. Because you don't want to, you always get a little discouraged when you have to tear things apart and rebuild them. But yeah, that's where we're at. I think this, from last week to this week, this looks spectacular. So some of the tricks I did was, this is nothing more than another shape that has a warmer color on it, and it really does reflect what we see in Valorant at the museum. Same with the bookshop. I took the time to make the general bookshop look accurate, and then I added a translucent window. It's got a little interior, and I started adding a bookshelf just for fun.
Love that.
So once I make a bookshelf and some books, I can duplicate it, and we have a bookstore.
So I guess one of my questions for one of the things that we could build is, in the window of the museum, we do have the scaled down radionite boxes right through that wall that you're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
How would we be able to kind of duplicate the window that you've made already for the bookstore and kind of create this? Because, you know, I think that it kind of, to me, going off of what we saw, my initial thought would be to use like subtractive to get rid of to make like an inside in this wall. But the thing is that there is now something within it as well. We've got a little prop of these radionite boxes in there. So how do we solve that problem? How do we make this?
Oh, we do have a problem, because this object here is solid. So yeah, we could do this the exact same way. And as you can see, this is where it gets a little scary in Unreal, and you have to be a little conservative. When you have a whole lot of what we call brushes, and they're just nice materials to construct your level and shapes from. When you have a lot of them overlapping, there could be issues. So this one right now is subtractive. You can see that it's red, and it's subtracting from this shape here. And to get this angle on the building, I added another subtractive box on top of it. So it's making this nice angled corner. And then within here is another box that's subtracting out the room itself. So this is where it gets a little weird. So it's like, wait, this is subtracting from this. This is subtracting here. But wait, how are these boxes existing in here? Or the construction of the bookshelf, I should call it. So as we overlap things, one thing we have to keep straight is there's an order set up, which is very much like layers in Photoshop or the order of things in Illustrator and other graphic software. You know, what is on top of what? So right now, these brown bookshelf construction materials are on the top level, and they will not disappear and be subtracted from. So that's where you get a little, if you accidentally mess that order up, everything disappears and you kind of have to reset it up.
I see.
But,
so that order is how we can create these Radiant boxes inside of here if we wanted to.
So this one is not a brush anymore. We made it a static mesh. So if we want to carve into it, what we'd have to do is I would probably take this, copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to go just match the size because we've put a lot of effort into making sure the distance in this area, the area around the wall by gelato, all of this is measured very accurately. So if I want to construct and add some more elements, I'm just going to grab this box and have it match the current one and then delete it because it's static mesh and it no longer could be messed with like that. So how we went about that was our original buildings, as you can see here, all have the individual pieces still. But when I grab them all together, I can turn them into one solid mass, is what we see here. That solid mass makes, they're less expensive. They're not constantly updating. They don't put pressure on your processor, you know, for your computer. It could get really slow really quick if you have too many of the brushes floating around. And how much stuff do I have here? Quite a bit. So let's match this up quickly, and then we'll make those Radianite boxes with windows. And all these overlapping pieces can obviously get a little tricky. And you really do get used to it just from build. Lots of understanding what's under there, how to grab it, how to zoom in. Just takes a lot of time and practice. So to make this a little bit easier, if I go into brush editing mode, I can grab the face, much like we do in Maya or Blender or 3D Max, and I could just pull the face out. Try and match our current building. And because it makes itself translucent, it's hard to see what's going on here. Yeah, it's really hard to see. All right, I'm going to guess that's accurate. And I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to push this back. Let's make sure that's in the same spot. Believe so. Need to get a roof. So now, oh, let's look over here. Did I mess this up? Not sure. We're going to delete the original. Let's see what happens.
Oh, there you go. Saved.
Oh, looks pretty close.
Yeah. All right. So we've essentially just replaced the building now, and instead of having it as a what is it? It was a solid object, and now it's a mesh.
It
Or a
was
brush.
Yeah, it was a solid static mesh object, and now it is a editable brush. Editable.
Awesome.
I like that word. Don't know if it's a real word. Go. I'm going to put the roof back on. More shapes we have to break up lighting, to break up silhouettes of the skyline. Really helps at any stage of building out a level. So I even cheated and put these in. These posts were not here because every time I came around the corner, this is a big empty wall. And I just put them in there to try and break up the space. Found it annoying to see that big gray wall. So you'll do a lot of that. Oops, it just closed on me here. Lost my windows. So a lot of what happens there is just trying to keep the lighting going, the spacing going. And that's one of those things that unless you build and play a lot, you really won't know why it looks wrong or it feels off. But you get more experience. Like, oh, if I just broke up the color, if I just broke up the shapes, if I added a little bit of clutter, and we'll look at some clutter here.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into what we were talking about, I think around week 1 and 2 when you were still building out the spawn, of just making sure that it feels like an actual real environment of just having those little things. Because obviously, since we don't have an art team, we can't create these textures for the walls that would otherwise break up all of the all of the mundaneness that is just gray walls. But now that we've got kind of our little way of getting around not having an art team, it can make things a little bit more pop, a little bit more colorful, and I do really love what you've done with it.
Yeah, I could every week I would feel different ways about it. I'd be like, oh, this is so gray, but you got to be patient, and you've got to measure, and you've got to measure, and you've got to play, and you've got to check. And then, because if you go into decorative mode, which I like to call decorative mode, and you start adding more details, things like that, you can really lose focus on, you're trying to get the gameplay right. You're trying to measure things accurately. And we're building from an existing map. So it's a little different than building from concept art or from scratch, where you're just trying to come up with something fun. But even then, you should have some sort of reference, some sort of idea of like what this place is. Generally, just building something from scratch and making a whole bunch of shapes, at least for me, doesn't work very well. It's cool. It's fun to think of this as the what was Venice. That immediately gives you tons of resources to build from, tons of shapes, tons of ideas. What if there was a gondola like half up on a roof, sticking up on the roof? What if there was the posts that are through the canals, sticking up here and there from the first light event, the cataclysm that happened? Like, it just gives you ideas to think about instead of feeling like, I guess I'll put another box over there.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that's kind of cool, especially with Valorant. A lot of times esports titles, I mean, the two major examples of that, Overwatch and Valorant, they have this huge, rich lore, but a lot of it is hidden in the levels itself. And so one of the main things is, given that this is Venice, but it's obviously altered, there are a lot of different assets that we can see on specifically on like the roofs of the buildings that have some sort of use outside of your traditional Venetian architecture, but it's we don't quite know exactly what they do yet. But there is some hints that they're important for the overall storyline. I just hope that we can get to see that one day. But yeah, I mean those kinds of things that really do end up building a universe around you. Super cool.
Yeah, that's the fun about building an environment too. You want to tell a story strictly from the environment. There's games you play and it just doesn't feel right. You know, you're just like, this doesn't feel like a suburb. This doesn't feel like a bustling city. And there's usually obvious things you could point out, like, oh, there's not enough people. There's not enough cars. Maybe there's technology issues that they can't have that many NPCs running around, or they didn't get to making cars look good as they move about in a city, a town. But there's other things that are going on. Like early on when you build things, they tend to feel like your kitchen table full of Legos when you're a kid, or drawing out a Dungeons and Dragons map on a grid paper. Very square and just randomly placed bunch of objects. But when you go through a suburb, even if it's something very grid-like and very laid out, like a brand new development, everything is perfect and in its spot, there's usually a lot of crazy variants going on and strange things that make it feel alive. Grasses from different colors and heights, mailboxes in different spots. Some driveways are cracked. Some areas have, you know, this house actually goes up on a slope a little bit. The backyard's slightly higher. Fences of varying heights because people built different fences. Some trees are old and huge. Some are very small and just been planted. All that little stuff that we relate to as a person because we've seen it and experienced it, that comes through for the viewer as well, the player. The player's like, yeah, I get that. Like, but most of the time people won't consciously be able to understand it, but they'll feel like they're in an interesting place. They're going to be somewhere that really does feel like a suburb.
Yeah, all those small details, they can kind of take you in or conversely take you out. Like I mean, you were talking about all the little things that make it a little bit more human, and that definitely exists when you're on the parts of the Valorant map that are meant to be relatable. And then when you go into the site where there's loads of Radianite and the Kingdom Corporation has had their, you know, their stake in things, it gets a lot more futuristic, and that can put you into an entirely different mindset as well. So for example, on B site, you've got the canal that has just loads of fish everywhere. The water's obviously drained out because now we're hundreds of feet in the air. But then on A site and over here at the museum that we're building, you know, there's these floating green boxes in a window, right? How does that work? But it is kind of the, like what you were saying, of stuff that we can relate to. But in this sense, it's something that is definitely sci-fi and can put us into that realm of thinking as well.
So I'm comparing. This is kind of just nice details, fun little additions to the level, but I'm still comparing and I'm still measuring. So this is not quite a full box length to the first window. It almost matches with the top of the box, just a little bit higher. So I'm going to look how big the box is. I'm just going to guesstimate. It looks like it's about a half or less than that current box. We'll put those in. You can see that the door cuts up onto it at a certain angle. So just constantly comparing, constantly looking at the details and how my character measures up, as well as doing what I'm doing here. And if I was more accurate, let's just do 0.5. That seems too big, actually. Let's do 0.4. I'm just scaling our already existing Radianite box. I'm going to rotate it some odd angle, make it look. I didn't put Radianite in the top. I didn't even think about that. So another 3D. You can change how your object works in the world from local to global space. So this could probably be just a little bit bigger. So once I get one perfect, then I can duplicate them all over. Let's see how that feels. So they're not being, they're not being just subtracted because these boxes were converted to solid objects. They're no longer brushes. And I have a piece of glass in here. So we're going to put that glass in, and we'll see that the glass does not get subtracted. As we said before, the order of things, because I just copied and pasted this, it's on top of the hierarchy. So it's not going to be subtracted from. If I was to have made this one, this little subtracted box after it, it would subtract from it.
Then it would take that away, yeah.
It's a pretty easy concept, but until you play with it, it sounds very odd. Oh, you're starting to get some weirdness here.
Yeah, we can. Oh, I'm starting to see it. Yeah, exactly, of what that hierarchy can lead to.
Yep, there we go. I think that's the first time in our building process we've had these weird things that can happen. Converting it to static mesh seems to solve a lot of that. It gets rid of some of the behavior of the brushes overlapping. So if this looks pretty good, I could copy it around. Yeah, you can see it's going through that side and that side. Now I've got so many things overlapping, it's getting hard. Here we go. I should go run over there and check it out.
I think the box is sticking to the glass a little bit.
I wonder why these aren't breaking. Oh, they are breaking. Looks like the bullets are hitting something.
Ah, I see. I love that. That's so cool.
Ah. Oh, the box is sticking out, and it's poking through. Oh, this one's poking through a little. It's just not as obvious. Ha. So yeah, by converting it to static mesh, we should that would fix that problem, and we wouldn't have that hole there.
I see.
But let us at least fix this part. And we're going to have to make this deeper. Maybe make our window a little thinner.
That's so cool seeing this done in real time. Watching the master at work.
There we go. So now if I grab everything at once.
Oh, you grab everything at once, you can copy it and paste it, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Could rotate one of these if I want, make it look a little different. Are they all the same rotation? Or they vary?
So it's the same rotation, just different textures.
Do they have different textures?
Actually, wait. No, same rotation.
We could cheat, make it look different. We'll just rotate it different.
Yeah, it's just that the crates themselves have different textures on every face, but they are all the same rotation.
Let's go run over there and check it out. Oh, I'm going to fall to my death over there. Gotta go this way. Oh, looks pretty good. Actually, looks really good. This whole area looks good.
Absolutely.
Look how much more alive it is just with the varying colors. The grass, which we started few episodes as well ago, just by having this on the ground to break up the plane, which is a pretty insignificant part of this. It's just really a decorative texture, a little bit of height variance. Really does help a lot. So yeah, this is what you want out of a block out. I mean, this is really what you want your level designers to be doing. And, you know, if they get a little too distracted with some of these elements, you know, and you're lagging behind in your schedule, that's not great. But if they're putting in the time and detail to really make it feel like a real spot, man, there's definitely an environment art team that's appreciating it. They have more confidence. It's going to stay this way. It's going to, you know, it's going to be something special instead of, Yeah, there's some square buildings over there. What can we do there? Like that gets old after a while. You really do need everybody on board with imagining what is happening in the world. And my little banister here, I didn't make look perfect. It has some cool radianite type lighting coming out of it. But again, if we were to mimic everything, that's an environment art point of view. We're trying to do the level block out. We're trying to do the metrics. We're trying to measure things accurately.
And just like you said, with making sure that the whole team is confident that this area is going to stay like this for a while, that means that you can now start having your character designers and your gameplay designers start working on, all right, what are these abilities going to do? What would it look like if we got 5 agents on each team, put them out in this courtyard where real battles are going to be happening now that it's all built out? And what does it look like? What do these interactions start consisting of? And that's when we really can start breaking through with the the esports lens of all right, we have our playground. Now we start to experiment in it, and then possibly there you get the small iterative changes between, all right, does this box need to be specifically right here? What if we put it on this side? And all the stuff that the general public will never see of, okay, here's the length of this catwalk here, the length of these stairs. What would happen if we change this or this? Like, why is this a staircase versus just a ramp? And how do the abilities that each individual agent has, how does that play with it? And so, yeah, I think you're entirely right with saying this is what you want out of a blockout, because you can see everything, you can be in a good position. But the one that really struck me was the fact that it'll stay like that for a while, because now we can really start testing from an esports perspective.
Yeah, and it's fun when the game starts coming together and you start feeling the magic. You start feeling like, oh, this is going to be cool. And you start playing games and people are just really into it now, instead of just hoping and wishing that it was better. And it's tough building levels that don't have real characters or abilities quite set up yet. You feel like this one stick out. This one does stick out. You just have to imagine, and you have to play, and hopefully your game is based on something that exists. It's really difficult to work on a game that doesn't exist. Like, it's nothing like any game you've ever played before. We're gonna break new ground. We're gonna break new boundaries. That's rough, because it's a whole lot of guessing. It's in some designer's mind what they want to see in the end, or they're hoping to achieve in the end, because there's no template to work from.
And that was the fun of VR in 2016 when the HTC Vive came out with full room scale tracking, and the Oculus Rift, when that first came out, it was still 7 months before they had the trackers to allow room scale. And so you had a lot of different developers trying a lot of different things, but they realized, all right, well, room scale, this is where it's going, so we need to develop only for this. And everyone was just trying different things. And the entirety of 2016, the early days of VR, it was exactly that. People were breaking into new territory, like, all right, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to ship it and we're going to find out. And eventually, stuff stuck from there. And 5 years on, VR games kind of have a distinct notion of how people will expect them to work when you get into controlling a character in a first-person VR game with joysticks and movement and what that's like, and whether or not teleportation is needed. And that's actually kind of where I started with really getting into the nitty-gritty of game development myself, and Unreal Engine was with VR and learning all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, VR had its own set of challenges because of people getting nauseous and figuring that out. How do you get rid of motion sickness, or how do you minimize it? And that there was all kinds of tricks. If you could feel grounded by seeing hands and seeing different parts of the body, and there's some connection, the motion sickness for many people would go away. And then the camera movements, the field of view, how do you minimize that and change things? It was a whole new world of just groundbreaking. What's going to be fun? What's not going to be fun? how can we overcome these challenges.
Mm.
It's definitely a different way to think and be a designer when you encounter that. Like, you definitely have to have a different skill set. Like, you're just more wide open, more experimental, different than being in an established game. You know, some people are better at just better at one over the other.
Yeah. We do have a question from chat. So we've got VR Nelson Art says, do you guys know how to use megascans? I would like to learn how you import them in Unreal from Quixel.
That is a completely different skill set. I have no idea how to do. It's interesting, the debate about megascans, and there's definitely a need and a market and a skill set from that. And it's interesting to think about environment artists and people who are taking these giant megas, that bringing them in and showing in portfolios. Whereas I think a lot of it's still relatively new and innovative, and a lot of it's being worked out. But it's an interesting debate of how far it will go, and what's kind of like the difference between way back when motion capture versus hand animation. This is what it kind of reminds me of. You have these huge, massively detailed landscapes that can come in versus one that's sculpted from various tools. In the end, I think it's still debatable how they're going to fully use it. What's the technology going to come down to, and how it'll all come together. You saw the Unreal 5's announcement with how many polys and tries and the huge amount of detail they can put in their new engine coming up, which again will be another change to the industry and art and how you utilize that. Just because you can do it sometimes doesn't mean you should, but it all comes down to gameplay in the end. But there is certain technology that can really blow things up when you can have that much detail and that much realism coming right at you, and being able to put that in an engine and it actually be supported. It's pretty amazing. Looking forward to see what people come up with that.
Absolutely. So right now we're working on the courtyard towards B side, correct?
Yep.
Or towards
I'm kind of holding my breath. It's all going to fit together. So I've got one building here. It's about 1, 2, it's about 4 of those boxes to this wall. So I'm going to measure that. And then this pretty much measures really closely to that. So I'm going to set that up really quick. So we've got 1.
Yeah, that box is a lot closer to the door. I think you're going the wrong direction with that one. Oh, you're just using you're measuring. Yeah, the one that I think we got to worry a little bit about is, this whole B lobby with because it's all based on that building that we built in the very, very beginning to make that decorative courtyard for the attacker spawn, to make sure that the attackers weren't just looking at a blank wall. But I think that we might have to adjust that building's position just a little bit to make sure that run up. And now what's actually interesting is this B lobby. I actually was always under the impression that it was kind of an accident the way that B lobby worked out, but over the weekend with the campus clutch regional qualifiers, we actually saw quite a bit of Ascent, and in Ascent we saw quite a bit of stacking up on B, and we saw a lot of B lobby being used. And so that's the area that you're building out right now. Right there in the center of your screen. Currently blank in our Unreal Engine blockout, but this area right over here to our left, you check out my screen here. And so it's just kind of plain, right? There's not a lot going on here at first glance. It's just, here is your attacker spawn run up, here is your mid link, go to town, right? But we also have this shack here. It's another worm shack, very identical to the one that we built, I think week 1 or week 2. Right here, it's basically the same shape. I think it's a slightly different texture, but regardless, we still have this building, and we've also got just a little standing boost here. Not really too useful if you're an agent without movement abilities. But over here in this B lobby, there is a window. In this window, you're definitely familiar if you've played Ascent, that every one of your enemy Sova darts comes right through there. And also you can throw some raise nades and some Molotovs down there, but really this window here is the cause of a lot of problems, which is why this exists here. And so when your Sova dart comes through, there are many different ways that the Sova could fire it, to where it could bounce off the ceiling, land on the floor, bounce off the floor, land on the ceiling. A lot of darts also land on top of this building here. There was one dart that I watched over the weekend where it came through this window, bounced here, and landed right up there, which was pretty massive, pretty big brained. But again, you have this one little piece of cover to hide behind for this whole B lobby area. And the spacing really comes into play because, like I said, with the Sova arrows, we also have, the Raze grenade launcher, or sorry, the rocket launcher from Raze, which allows, obviously just a straight line, no drop of instant death for anyone on the other side of it. And the distance that this is kind of allows a couple unique angles to be played, even though this is a mostly open corridor. And it's little things like that where, honestly, it's hard to tell if there have been any adjustments to, for example, this building here, because this building, it does serve as like the face of the attacker's spawn, but at the same time, there could have been a number of adjustments in and out, to kind of build this here specifically as to why you got this kind of organic movement. Yet still, like we've been talking about this whole time, it's blocky, and there's it's all straight lines and corners. But why does this overhang exist when there's already this place here in mid courtyard? We will never know unless we can actually get an environment artist to come on, or a level designer from Riot to come on. But you can definitely see the iterations that have most likely come through, just given how much a single object can change the whole play of a single map.
Oh, absolutely. That window, like you said, all the things that could come through that window and harass the attacking players and just pose threat. I'm sure that hallway has been worked over so many times. You could see it's just like the ultimate, because the attacking team could easily, if it's not set up properly, could easily rush through and quickly plant the bomb. I guess that you still have plenty of opportunities to defuse, counterattack. But yeah, I'm sure those are the areas that get reworked so many times, and you really don't know until you have your high-level players playing it and testing it hundreds of times, and they find I guess you could call them exploits, the strategies, the ways to do this. Because it's tough. Like, there's no way just by sitting at your desk with your fellow design team are you going to figure out how that all comes together and works. You just need like a whole community and test team working on it.
And so earlier we were also talking about breakables, and I wanted to know if we were to build. I know that you're working on mid connecting into B right now, but if we were to go back to A site for a second and build out the closing door that links tree to A main, what would that look like from a level designer's perspective? How do we build that sort of mechanic of, here's a single lever that controls a single door, and that door can be broken to where it just reverts back to the original shape no matter what? How do we build something like that here?
It's fairly easy depending on the engine you have, and there's a lot of tricks. So in Unreal, you have a destructible ability that's pretty easy to work with. They just have a plugin. It's called Apex Destructible, I believe, that you can turn on in your plugins, and it just immediately makes an object destructible for you. But even if you don't have that, so let's go over there. So we created these silly breakable barrels. What you can do is teleport my guy over there a little bit better. We'll go towards the door. So you could do things like, I don't know why that one's not working. So we've got, they break. Very simple ability to take damage and it falls apart. Unreal makes this look really easy because they have this built-in plugin. If you did not have this, let's say you're in a different game engine, you're working with a proprietary engine set up by your company, you do silly tricks, and this is true for all level design. We've been doing it already. All kinds of prototyping tricks. I made this really bad gun here just so I could feel like I'm actually shooting. I set up these little target guys. We lined them up so we could feel like what happens if you line them up standing at a headshot, go down the stairs. Is this the height, the range accurate? Do the same thing with the destructibles. So we could do is can look at my this current barrel. It's nothing more than a cylinder. What you can do is you can form a door or a box. And what happened to my windows? I lost one. Toolbar levels. Place actors. There we go. Couldn't remember what that was called. It's such a strange term. So if I'm to grab just a cube, we'll make a door. Actually, maybe we can make it look cooler. Like, where's my original box? So here's my original Radianite box. Let's do this. Let's grab this. Grab the whole thing real quick. We'll copy this and make a door. So this way I'll have a little Radianite detail for us. So now we'll make this more door shape. I will take these little Radianite details. Let's make them look, let's rotate them. I'm going to make them smaller. So again, we're working with the subtractive properties. We're just subtracting from it. I can get rid of these two. So now I'm going to do is bring it over to our entryway so I get the scale accurate. Oops.
Definitely love just watching this be created.
Very much like drawing, sculpting. You just kind of, starts becoming very natural. What I should do next, what I shouldn't do, how to quickly. It just takes a lot of practice. Just like anything. I think people do forget, like just how many hours you put into this before you're really quick at it and understand it. And the big assumption is a lot of people just give up far too quickly because, I'm not good at this. I don't understand technology, or I make too many mistakes. Everybody makes so many mistakes, and it takes so long to just quickly, get your own style and your own understanding. There's so many different ways to build. There's so many different ways to build a box or this door in Unreal and just feel like it's a active door versus just another object. There's just so many variances. You start getting your own style and confidence up, and it just gets faster. And then you could concentrate more on gameplay, and the important parts, instead of feeling like I'm just doing enough to get it done. It's always nice once you've conquered that and you're really being able to be creative. So now I'm going to turn this into a single door. So I'll get rid of the brushes. So this is how the brushes work. They're all subtracting from our other box. Oh no, what did it do there? So I suspect I'm going to grab something accidentally, but we'll hit the F key. Nope. It's like I just grabbed that. Let's now turn it into a solid object, create static mesh.
Awesome.
It asks me where I want to put it. I'm going to call it rollout door. Don't know why. Reminds me of those roll down doors you see in front of liquor stores. Okay, so that's a solid object now. So right now it's going to not have collision. And where is it? Is it in here? Should be in here. There it is. So if I open the little editor up, we can see it. We will give it collision. That's a simple box. You can see that little green outline on it. One little thing I'm going to do is I always fix the lighting weirdness that happens here. I always change our light map coordinate index to 1 because when you convert brushes to static mesh, it creates some wacky lighting later on. It's nice to get in that habit. I also changed the light map resolution up to a higher number so that I don't have to go through and do the whole thing over later. So that's set in place. We run over there. I really need to move my player start point. As we go, you're constantly simulating. All right. Not going anywhere. There's our door. So let's make it destructible. What about animating a destructible? Interesting. Didn't think about that. So now I can just click on it, and I can right click and say create destructible mesh. So in Unreal, like I said, it has a nice plugin. And it looks just like we looked at it before. It's like, okay, same old static mesh looking object. But what we want to do, as you can see right here, it says fracture mesh. So I could fracture it, and it automatically does this for us. And you can see it explode. If I want it to explode more, there's some weird shapes in there.
What if we wanted to make it explode but keep, for example, those radionite triangles intact?
I think you might have to do a custom one. So you probably, I I wonder if you could just isolate with this plugin. I wonder if you brought it into like Maya and chopped it into shapes, and then one way would just, I know you can substitute, they call them chunks. So when it breaks right here, these are called chunks. So one way could be that as this breaks, you could change the texture to not see the radionite anymore. And then you could have custom chunks of the radionite spawn and they could fall to the ground. And I know that's completely possible, but that would probably take far too much experimentation and me figure that out to do that right here. But that is possible to do. So you could swap in special chunks. You can make the chunks fade over time. You could make them disappear quickly. You can make them translucent. So you can do all kinds of blending so they don't just fall and stay there. You can also make them blow up a lot more. So if we do cell site count, I believe if you go higher, there we go, you get even more chunks.
Oh, wow.
And this lighting issue, I suspect, is just textures, possibly. So let's leave that for now.
Just see what happens.
So I'd have to compare this to my other notes to make sure I get this right. So damage threshold 1, damage spread 0.1, enable impact damage 1. So this is where you want your debris chunks of the same thing. How can I make these disappear? Support depth, enable debris, yes. Debris depth effects. There's all kinds of little check boxes here I got to do, which I probably have to look at my notes to get it right because it's just a series of yes, no, yes, no.
I noticed that there is like a damage thing so you can say how much damage it needs before it breaks. And in Valorant, all of the destructible pieces, other than the window, they have this effect where the closer they are to being destroyed, they change color from blue all the way down to red.
Oh, they actually have a nice effect.
Yeah, so how would you even implement that? Is that something that would be really advanced to implement?
That would be a material. That would be a specialized material that would recognize. So as you're taking damage, you would have it scripted so it would recognize my health starts at 100, and as I shoot it, you know, it would subtract each time it gets hit. It would go to 99, 98, whatever the damage is. Let's say it's 10. It's 10. It go 90, 80. So when it got below 80, it would change to, you know, a dark orange, and when it got to 60, it would change to a lighter orange, and then when it got to 50 or 40, it's yellow, and then when it gets to 30, so you would add a little script that knew as it was taking damage to transition the material, and the material would basically be I can't say an animated material, but I guess we could call it animated. An animated material, which is just changing color over time based on what the script tells it to do. So that's something your special effects artist would definitely implement and put in. You would probably do like the minimum. Actually, as a level designer, you probably wouldn't even do that. You'd have systems people, really completely or technical designers making all these really cool destructible objects that did all that. But we could do the bare minimum. I'll have to look at my notes. Some of this stuff is all foreign right now. Let's see if this... Did I actually convert that one, though? I think I have to replace it. This is just a door. Yeah, this is a door. So what we can do is replace that. So if I click on the door and I right click, whoops. So here's the destructible version right here, this little red bar under it. So if
Okay.
I right-click on my door, replace with selected actor. Yep, let's replace it. So it should look exactly the same. Yep, and you can see now SM rollout door is a destructible actor. So converted that. I don't think it's going to blow up yet. I'm going to have to check some of my settings. Probably compare it to the barrel.
But ideally now we can shoot it and it will go explode.
Oh, it does break. All right.
Awesome. Oh, nice.
So the only thing I got to do is I get these timeouts to work. Kind of see, watch me try and get through. Ah, I can't get through. So that's one thing I got to fix. There's just like a couple check boxes in there. So this one has it.
And then we also got to work on getting that door to go up and down.
Yeah, I wonder if it's easy to animate with, let's see, let's get it to a start position. Ooh, we probably don't want it to stay awake. If it does this, it's probably going to blow up on itself. Oh, if it's in here, the collision. What is this? Brush? Or static mesh? This is a brush. We're going to get into all kinds of goofy stuff now. Let's see what happens. Let's see.
I'm
So
excited.
we started here. This is interesting. Started here. If I just try and animate it, but then the collision. I wonder if, let's just try it, see what happens. So I'm just going to do it with a quick animation. So
Are you thinking that the collision is going to just make it explode?
yeah, it's gonna conflict. So I'm trying to think of the way to like how I would probably have to carve out a space in here for it, which I could do actually.
It actually looks like that might be what the Riot devs did as well, because as you can see, the door does have something covering it up on top here. There's like this nice little area where the door can hide behind. And
Oh yeah, it's got a big old frame. Nothing like smoke and mirrors to make better gameplay. A lot of what goes on in games is, still goes back to old movies and old stage plays where it's just, big set pieces covering this and making this disappear and appear at a certain time. There's so many elements like that you wouldn't realize that you think it's like some high tech thing of I created this and then I tell it to do this and I tell it to do that. Nope. I just carved a big old hole in it and we covered it with the other static mesh and you can't tell what's going on back there. And sometimes you get the best, you come up some really funny things with designers coming up with solutions as well. Because designers think more well, it depends on the designer. You just comes up differently from so let's say somebody's a programmer and they're coming at it from a very sophisticated point of view. Like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this, we got to do that. And designer's like, no, why don't you just make it disappear and then have this other one respawn and come in? Oh, yeah, that's a good way to do it. So that happens a lot, too, depending on the person, how they think, what kind of solutions you come up with. So that's why it's great to have a team and just different ways of thinking, because you could definitely overthink a lot. All right, let's try this. What if that one started awake? Let me get my character over there.
That changes spawn.
Yeah. Too much wasted time.
Yeah, because we got A site pretty much done. Last thing is the destructible window and then this door. And I think that'll be everything that we need from A site.
Let's try and animate it. So it's going to start there. And the fastest way for me to do that would be, I'm going to add this little tool. It's called the sequence, which is not a big fan of the name of that. It should be called animator or something more descript. But it's the way to animate things in Unreal. Works pretty well. So we'll call it door close. So I get this little toolbar. It very much looks like all the other animation tools in the world with a timeline. What we need to do is add this door to our timeline. So I have it selected, and I go over here to the track, which is a very common term for anything that's being animated in Maya or any other program. I'm going to add an animation track, and what I need to do is add an actor. So here's my door. I add that to the track. Now we can see it. Now what I want to do is make sure it's going to stay right here. So with my door selected, oh, it doesn't have, I don't know if I can animate this. We'll see. Oh, there's the transforms. Didn't automatically add the transforms. That's interesting. Usually it automatically adds the transforms. This is how you can animate your location, rotation, or your scale. So we'll, on frame 0, so this is where we want to start. I'm going to hit enter. You'll see the starting keys there. Animation keys, very common term for anything animation based. So over the course of, let's make it really slow, 3 seconds, we will have it go down. Have it go down.
Nice.
So I should be able to drag this back and forth. Yep, there you go. So I'll hit save on that. And all I need to do now is if I walk over and touch the button, which for now I will
just make it a really tiny Radionite box. That'd be really funny.
I'll do that. Mr. Radionite, come here.
I think that'd be kind of cute.
More complicated animations you're going to obviously have animators do, but level designers do a lot of silly animations like this, or even some cut scenes where we're just animating cameras and matching lines of dialogue to characters. It's just because the animators are better used doing the complicated things like facial animation and dialogue, things like that. It's facial animation takes forever. So I'm just going to make this stick out, and when you bump into it, so we'll just let you hit it, not even add a trigger. So now we have to add a little script here. We talked about scripting, possibly checking your health and then changing colors. So when I hit this, as my character, I want the door animation to play. So where I'll do that is just in our level script, and in Unreal it's called a blueprint. That's their proprietary name for their scripting system, which can do a whole lot of stuff. So the basis of this is this object here, the cube. If I hit it, so I'm going to add an event, a collision event, basically add on actor hit. If I hit that cube, I want something to happen. And what I want to have happen is create a sequence player, which is what my door animation is. And there it is right there. And then from there, I want it to play. See, there's 1,000 plays in here. This is a whole nother series of videos. How are you doing this? What is this blueprint madness? What are these F's for? These stands for function. This is, scripting, programming.
This is
and at the base level of level design, it's pretty easy stuff. We usually stick to the basics. But once you get into systems and things like that, it gets far more complicated. The good big thing about Unreal is it's all about visuals. Like this for me is pure magic. I love rearranging my blueprints and making sure this all works and fits together. Some people, they hate it. They just want to type black and white text into Viz Dev Studio. So let's see if this activates on its own. Let's check it out. Oh, it's not. There we go. Ta-da.
Wow.
Oh, it just popped back. I forgot. Got to finish something here. I'm surprised it didn't. I guess it's already overlapping with this wall, so it's not detecting it. Sometimes having it inside of a wall, it's already being hit by something. So I thought it might actually animate on its own. So what you could do there is make sure that only the first person character interacts with it. So how I do that is I tell it to, hey, I only want to interact with the first person character, nothing else. And then in Unreal, you call that cast to. You're basically casting to another object, a blueprint script, and I want to interact with that blueprint script. That's how you do it in Unreal. That's another eccentric thing to Unreal, that cast to, that strange term that I don't think anybody else uses. One last thing I have to fix is the animation at the end here wants to pop back. So it's basically restoring itself. You started at the beginning, it goes to the end, and it goes, hey, I'm done, go back. That's just a default setting that it likes to reset itself. But if I just right click here and go to my properties and tell it to not do that, we want to keep the state. State's a very common term for anything that changes in a script, in an object. We call them states. This is my damage state. This is my moving state. It basically sets an object into a different state that can do different things. So stay where you are. Save. And now, so if I go through here, nothing happens. If I shoot it, nothing happens. If I shoot it, nothing happens.
Nice.
There we go.
There we go.
So I just got to get the fade.
We can break the door.
There you go. Very simple stuff. So if you don't have plugins that are that well set up to just automatically do that, because every engine's different. I don't know if Unity has something that robust to do a destructible, but you can substitute. You can just flat out, when you shoot it, it would detect it. You could play damage. Here it go. And then just have it flicker and disappear. You could simulate it. So there's level designers being able to come up with tricks like that, or that's really valuable. You don't want to just sit around and be like, who's going to make our destructible plugin? Who's going to make this work? You just want to go for it and, put things in and make gameplay, even if it's really silly stuff.
That's super cool that we were able to make that. And I'm assuming that sounds is not something that we're going to be able to do.
Sounds are super easy, and that's a big part of linear dampening 0.1. So simulate physics. Don't start awake. Maybe if I turn on simulate physics, just comparing here what pieces I missed. It says not to start awake. Oh my God. It's a cascade. Let's watch that again.
Trigger a waterfall of broken
I think it's freak.
doors.
I think the animation's actually setting it off. Watch.
Oh my god.
I've never tried that before. That's funny.
That's
All
really
right, so
funny.
simulate physics is not good. So, or was it start awake? No, I had that off. I'm trying to compare it to see how I get those pieces to fade away. There's something in here I'm missing. Nope. Destructible. So all these little yellow arrows tell me that I changed something from default. So the clues in these yellow little arrows. Simulation generates hit events. Simulation generates hit events. Always create physics states. That's default. This is what you do as a level designer a lot. This is what you do as a game developer a lot. You look through lists. You figure out what went right or wrong. Yep, I don't think I'm going to find it. There's something I'm missing. Something small. I might have actually had to script something too. It's all right. We got the basics working. Audio is another important component. So for audio, and that's one thing you don't want to wait for as a level designer. Having audio, like waiting for your audio team to come along and give you all your cool audio, that is not the best thing, because without audio, games are pretty much dead. So you want to go out there, and in the world, there's tons of free audio that's copyright free, and you're not going to publish your game with this stuff anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But you can head over to free sites and download things and put them in. And if you use software like Audacity could just free. It's community supported. You bring in a piece of audio and you convert it to the right format, or just edit it quickly. And you get good at that as well. Door open. What's this sound like?
Probably not gonna sound like what we want.
No, that sounds like a creaky old door. See if we have a big door.
Like a drill, maybe.
I'm searching my vault of sounds here. See my vaults of sounds. Glass break. Oh, that sounds like someone dropped a marble. Generator on.
Oh, that might work.
Oh, that could work. Short. That'll work.
That's
all right,
okay.
We'll throw
just
generator on in there. Yeah, generator on sounds all right. So we go here. You just drag it in. And one thing you want to do is test it that you can hear it in Unreal. You heard it in your computer is one thing. It's another thing to hear it in Unreal. So I can still hear that. And I'll just double click it and save it. I'm not going to have it loop because that will just make it more difficult to shut off. So now when the animation starts, go back to my little script here. I can actually fire off the audio here, or I could put it in my sequence animation. So let's do that. Let's open up the sequence. Drag this in there. And right now, I'll just duplicate it. Guess I could have stretched it out. Let's just say, see what that sounds like. Wow, that's loud. I guess they're playing twice overlapping each other. Let's get rid of that. Wow, why does it sound so strange? It's odd. It's only playing once. So it's just playing as you go. Sounds like it's over. It's almost like playing 3 at once. Very strange.
Interesting. Is it because of the fact that it might be playing on like different sections of it, like when you hit the button it plays and when the door moves it plays, so it's playing it twice that way?
I don't think so. You're only seeing the animation go down, and it's only fired off right here. You know what I mean? It's like, this is it right here. I haven't put it anywhere else. It's weird. I could just turn down the audio.
What are those 3 red dots there at the beginning and end of it?
Oh, these are how this is the animated door. So
Let's see, because there's 3 of them.
That's just for location rotation. That shouldn't be firing off the audio at all. The audio is pretty much locked too.
I see.
It just sounds different than it does here. So I can turn the volume down itself. Volume 0.4. Turn the pitch down to, I guess, 0.7. Save that. Lots of windows closing, lots of navigating. Better. Just change the pitch and the volume. Sounds pretty good, actually.
Awesome.
Happy accidents. Whee!
So I guess now the final thing that we got to add to A-Site is our window, and then we're done.
Final thing? What was that?
To add the window from garden up into rafters.
Where is that? Garden to rafters.
Garden be right next to tree.
Ah, here we go.
Our window. And now our window.
Oh, you want to make the window breakable?
Yeah, because this does serve a very important purpose here.
That's right. It's loud.
It is an alert to everyone that there is a rotation happening.
Aha. Yeah, because I was thinking we already put in window, but no, we need a breakable. That's right. So what we could do is grab our existing window. So I don't have to rebuild anything. Let's go set this up. It's already see-through. We'll turn into a nice static mesh object. Let's turn that to our breakable window, create static mesh. There we go. Now we will find the source of that, which is living in our content folder, and we will duplicate or create a destructible mesh. Oh, why did it lose my materials? Oh, there it goes. So actually, no, let's not do that by hand. Let's, oops. Guess I have to give it collision. Give it a box collision, save it. How weird, why can't I select this window? There we go. Wow. It's quite the trick there. So that needs to be replaced with this. Oh. It's not going to let me do it, is it? There we go. Replaced. Now we open this up. Do the same thing. Fracture mesh. Impact damage, damage depth, custom resistance, damage cap.
Love that. Luckily, glass shattering as a sound should be easy to find in that library. Go check out
some of these terms are so close together. You just, unless you do it 100 times, you know, in a row, you just have to go back and track what exactly should be set and unset. This is pretty common for everything. There's some things you just know, you know, like the back of your hand. I can figure this out, no problem. Just let me do it, run over there and set it up. Other times it's just got to look at the same script over and over.
Understandable.
All right, so that breaks. Now I just need these things to fade so I can get through. All right, so let's make a sound for that. So in the destructible, what I could do is that this object do the same basic thing. I could go to my level script, otherwise known as the level blueprint, and I could have what if on actor hit will be enough? On actor hit, play sound. Play a sound in 2D so it sounds 100% volume everywhere. And what we'll have to do is find some glass breaking. Not the best. That sounds better. Just bump up the volume on that. So we will put in a glass break sound here. Let's make the volume 3 times louder. See how that sounds.
Awesome.
Sounds all right, I guess. can make the pitch a little louder. Yeah, it will work. So on hit, we will play glass. Oh, every time I hit it. Not the best sound. Definitely need something really crashed to the ground.
But now I know that you're rotating through.
Yep. I can't get through.
Soon you'll be able to rotate through. A little more work.
I swear, every time I do I work with the destructibles or the skybox up here. I've edited those things 1,000 times. Every time I miss 2 or 3 things that prevents me from doing what I want to do. I have to go back, recheck everything, look at my notes, look at a tutorial or something, and figure it out.
Definitely gives me confidence, though, knowing that even the masters still, there's a lot of things that are involved in this.
Oh yeah, it's just endless. That's why figuring out, that's another part about being a level designer, is if you there's some things you really have to solve now and you can't give up on, and you just have to go solve the problems and clean it up. And there's other things it's like, oh, just skip it, make it easy, quickly, get it done. Like, after this is hit, what I could do, here's a trick. So I can't get these chunks to work right now. I needed to open up my notes and look at it. I need to look at a tutorial or just quickly go through it. I'm missing probably three or four things. So I'm going to let it break. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to delay and let those chunks sit there for 1.2, well, make it 2 seconds. And then I'm going to destroy the actor. So this window, I'm just flat out going to destroy it. Whoops, let's close that. So if I right click with it selected, I'm going to reference that window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy it. So I'm going to work around this.
Okay.
Because I have a meeting with my team and I'm like, I can't figure this thing out. So I'm just going to solve it myself. There it goes. And I'm through.
Nice.
So lots of that goes on in game development. You just don't get stuck on silly little problems like that. Yes, you have to solve them eventually, but keep moving forward. Keep knowing when sometimes you have to let things just not hold you back. And then there's other times,
because once you've got the rough draft, you can just kind of go in and polish up later. Because we still have all of B site to worry about, and then another door to create, and we can just we can set those problems to the side and say, hey, let's let the intern work this out.
Yeah, it truly is that. And also with audio, you want something to resonate and talk about the gameplay, and people are like, oh, this is exciting, this is cool, this is, I feel like something's happening, I understand what's going on. But you're gonna have a whole audio team working through that and adding like way deeper audio and way more interesting things to it. So you have to be quick and responsive and get the point across, but you can't get stuck, or it doesn't work. You just overthink it. People are like, why aren't you getting anywhere? Well, I couldn't solve this problem. Okay, you need to skip it, move on, and come back, type of thing. So instead of this sounding like glass, let's make it sound like something blowing up. Dead bunny. I'm not sure why I have a dead bunny sound in my audio file. Heavy smash. What's that?
Dead bunny.
Here we go. Yeah, I don't know what I use dead bunny for.
You recreate
Heavy
that scene in The
smash.
Last of Us.
What was that? You're referencing Last of Us?
You recreate that scene in The Last of Us where that bunny dies.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that. I think my favorite scene in the first Last of Us is the giraffe.
Definitely.
Where they discover the giraffe herd going through Salt Lake City. Man, that's cool. One of those resonating moments where just stuck with me forever. And just like, that's how you make a mission. That's how you make beautiful level design of just coming into that silhouette of the giraffe. And then you follow it, you get more glimpses of it, and you actually get to come up and pet it. What a cool setup. All right, close. That was really loud. Let's have it. So what's happening here is this should probably delay longer. Let's make it 3.5. But every time I'm hitting it, it's firing off the sound. So what I want to have happen is I don't want it to constantly do that. We only want it to do it once. So I'm going to add a do once here so that it doesn't constantly fire off the sound. This one probably needs a do once as well. All right, working around technical difficulties.
That's the name of the game.
This is looking pretty cool. Almost got the whole level.
Oh, you have returned. I've been slowly trying to pull you from spawn all the way over.
Is that what you're doing?
I placed all the stars. Slowly trying to get you. Alrighty.
Wow, so what the one thing I want to check that it's just burned in my brain is how close is this? I know this is all good. I know I could get this right, but as I go over here, how much distance? This is about, so it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 4, 5 boxes before we hit the steps, and then we should be right here. So I have this built out.
We got 4 box lengths right here in between the box and the wall, and then
I wouldn't mind checking this out.
Same here. We got 4 box lengths. So Astra has become a little bit more useful as well for the boxes because her orbs in astral form are actually it is the radius is equivalent to 2 box lengths, and of course our producer in observer mode is so oh, you can see the block out. There we go. And as far as the stars go, I'm not sure if you can see the radius at which that star can actually expand in, but it is exactly a 2 standard Valorant box radius, which means that the diameter across is 4 boxes. So if I just conceal with this here, we can see that it is exactly 4 boxes long. And so that will help to kind of help us measure out. But yeah, so this is what I was talking about with Astra and the hitboxes. So you can actually see all of the hitboxes exactly as they stand in a Valorant map, which is very, very
So you thought
useful.
it was 4 from this wall over to the next drop down?
Oh, from that wall, it is, yes, it is 4 until the that little outskirt wall there. So we got 4 boxes in here and then 4 boxes in here.
Oh, look at that. It works. Holy crap. All that measuring worked.
That's beautiful.
Wow. Unbelievable. Now we just crossed. So now we're here. Then crossing fingers as we move forward towards, what do they call the dreaded choke point hallway here? What is the correct call out?
B main. So out here that we're building right now, the little link between. So this is B link, which links B lobby over to mid, and then inside is B main. Some people will call it garage as well, although it is not a garage.
Oh, they call it garage.
Some people do, but the proper call out is B main.
Yeah, I guess when I'm calling out hallway, people are very confused when I play.
Honestly, hallway is better than garage. Yeah, so I'll just.
So yeah, this is completely accurate, and now we're right here at garage.
Let's go.
This is awesome. This completely worked. I mean, we seriously started building episode 1. Got the knowledge. When I know this practice works, done it a bunch of times professionally, you know, all over the place. So I know it works, but when we're trying to put it together live, put together all the details, impulsively show off some more, you know, diverse elements of how to work in Unreal, you could get lost pretty quick or make some silly mistakes. So I'm really glad this is all accurate. And then from here would be our last episode or last 2 episodes, whichever that is.
Yeah, I'm
getting
excited.
To Site B.
Yeah, B site. Now, B site is a lot of fun because, like we've been alluding to this whole time, you know, B site has all of the your traditional elements. There's not a lot of Kingdom Corporation in this area, other than the fact that shipping containers, little shipping boats have brought in the Radianite on the canal, and now that the canal is several hundred meters above sea level, there's no more water. It's all drained out. And as we can see all these fish here as well, it happened rather instantaneously. And so these Radianite boxes left over is the only thing kind of shows that the Kingdom Corporation has been here. So, of course, your attackers come in, they want to steal it, but they're, instead of going through into an area that's fully controlled by the Kingdom Corporation, they instead are just going into an area where the Kingdom Corporation has yet to extract and or build around. So this is also one of the very few times in Valorant where you see Radianite boxes that are not connected to anything. There's no cables that link these to anywhere else, just because Kingdom has yet to expand to this area. So what that means is that from a design standpoint, all of your architecture is just straight up Venetian architecture. It's all very much traditionalist. There's not a lot of advanced technology. We just see a lot of fish everywhere. We see a lot of signs for different things like this. Fruits and vegetables stand, the giraffe, indicating there was a zoo probably. We've got this boathouse here, in which you've got a lot of different drawings, people working on boats. Then also back up here, another boathouse, lots of stuff going on in the background, even stuff that most players will never see, just given the fact that it's not only behind a wall, but it is also up at an angle. So we get a lot more unique build outs, whereas building out A site was very, very geometric. We still have lots of just hard angles. It's all boxes and squares, but you build those out a lot more organically. You see these sites are filled with lots of twists and turns and curves, yet it is still all very blocky. And
very cool. Lots of good stuff to come. I was just going to say, it's like, hey, this doesn't look like a gondola, but then they have the gondola over here.
Yes, the gondola back here. It's you see right here the naval carpenter, as it says on this side there.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Boathouse. Very, very fun. And yeah, so honestly, Mark, I'm super happy that we finally finished up A site. How cool is that?
It is very cool. It's always, like I said, holding your breath a little bit that you don't get to had a little technical hiccup there trying to get that destructible to fade. But It's kind of good to show. I don't know. I think if you build something and you don't show errors, that's another thing. If you don't show errors and you make it perfect, you're kind of just showing off. It's like, wow, look how fast I am. Look how good I am. You're not really teaching, and people aren't learning because there's so many mistakes that go on and happen over the course of a cycle. And getting used to that method of changing and just taking a deep breath and editing things and throwing things away and starting over, as well as having to do more research. It's a real big part of being a level designer or game developer. If that's not in your personality and you get frustrated quickly, it's one of those things you'll have to get used to and get better at. I can't say you're not cut out for game development because that's ridiculous. I think you can adapt and learn new skill sets. It's very much, a somewhat of a scientific approach of analyze, figure out, have the curiosity to figure out why something's not working and how to make it better. So it is a good idea to see mistakes, how to fix them. And I think if I made every building perfect in the beginning, that wouldn't have been great either. You see some of them that are super gray and super flat. And it's like, oh, yeah, that does kind of look crappy. And then you start adding simple colors and simple shapes, and you just start to see it kind of come to life.
It's been insane seeing it come to life over the last few weeks. Yeah, versus just having just a plain old gray, blocky mess. Yeah.
But yeah, it's looking forward to we will get this done. We will complete it all. We will be shooting for that in the next episode here to get it all wrapped up, as well as, I don't know if we'll put some of these cool extras out there, but that could be one of our little additions. Some cool little extra elements out there just to feel like you're fluffing it up and making it feel even funner.
Definitely. Super, super happy to have been here for this process so far. I can't wait to finish out B-Site. And just like to remind everyone that this is powered by Red Bull. This spring, Red Bull partnered up with Riot Games to bring you the Red Bull Campus Clutch, which is the world's biggest university Valorant tournament. And they brought that to college campuses nationwide. The Northwest regional qualifiers for the Campus Clutch just finished up. And you can check out the VOD at twitch.tv/RU Esports and check out redbull.com/campus clutch for more info on the upcoming nationals. So thank you so much, Red Bull, for powering this workshop. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit follow. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe. Thank you guys so much. And just like Mark has said, we will be seeing you in the next one to finish out B-Site.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.